Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Nicole and I post family, lifestyle and travel content, and of course Vlogmas content as well. Is my favourite time of year, and I don't get a chance to upload Vlogmas every day, but I am hoping that I can get 12 days of Vlogmas up for you this year. We are doing quite well and I think we are up to episode 8, so I'm hoping that I can get to 12 videos this year. It will be a challenge. So I know I've already shared with you some of our more traditional things that we get up to, like visiting Santa's grotto, going to the Trafford Centre, Tinseltown, etc. We do them every year and it does not disappoint, and that's why I love it so much. I am such a traditionalist. I like to do the same things every year but also throw something new in each time as well. And I know I've shared with you some of my favourite gift ideas. I've done a few shopping with me videos in some shops, but I thought I'd do something a little bit different and share with you something that I'm quite passionate about, which is reading. So I know I've done a couple of book reviews for you before and I've shared a couple of books that I've bought, but what I thought I would do is a full video on books that I recommend, books I have read this year and books that also my children recommend. A couple of years ago I decided to do a challenge for New Year's resolution where I made sure I read like 10 pages a day of a book. And this has been my most successful year yet. I love to escape in a book. I also love to listen to self-help books on audio. I can't read self-help books. I don't know what it is. I just cannot read them, so I have to listen to them like a podcast. But everybody's different, aren't they? And that just shows there's different ways. If you don't enjoy sitting down and reading, maybe try Audible. See how you get on. It might be like a whole new world for you. Enough chit chat, let's get into it, and I will first of all show you what the kids have brought me. Now these are from my 8-year-old and 10-year-old little bookworms. Penelope has been obsessed with books since she was a baby. She could recite books word for word for me because she loved them so much when she was a baby. And I asked them to go and get me some books that they recommended, and they were literally bringing all of the bookshelves down. I was like, no, that's too many. So if we're here for a while, I do apologise, but these are ones that are tried and tested by my children from being little up until 8 and 10. So they've got the seal of their approval. So let's begin. Now, starting with your little kids, I highly recommend the Tales from Acorn Wood books. These are by Julia Donaldson. She is an amazing author. You've probably heard of The Gruffalo. Who hasn't heard of The Gruffalo? But she wrote The Gruffalo, but she also wrote these books as well. And these are pop-up books, but they're like hard pages, and especially this Postman Bear. When Penelope was little, she used to love to knock on the little doors before she opened the flaps. It was so super cute. I miss doing this with them as babies. And this has been out for 25 years now. When my kids were really little, they only had 4, but they now have 10 different books. But my two's favourite was both of them loved Postman Bear. So when we started reading it to Henry, when Penelope had moved on to other books, he also loved this one. Foxy's Socks is a firm favourite as well with a lot of kids, but I would highly recommend these for your more younger book audience, and they're a little bit more durable because they are made of cardboard. You also have your more classic books like The Hungry Caterpillar. You also have Dear Zoo and Dear Santa, which are also good books, and We're Going on a Bear Hunt is an absolute classic. I read that when I was little and my children still have that today. I don't know where it is, so I can't show you it, but we still have all those books and we will pass them down from generation to generation. So an author you've probably all heard of, and if you've not, I would be very surprised, is Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl has been a favourite of mine since I was a child. These were some of the first books that I ever read when I was a kid, and now my children are reading them as well. Penelope's had this box set for a number of years. It was a gift she actually got for Christmas off a relative. She loves it so much. She must have read these books about 10 times each, and now she is passing these to Henry, who is now reading them as well. He's making a start on them and absolutely loves them. And then we watched the movies together. I remember being younger and Matilda being my absolute favourite movie of all time, and I would read the book over and over again, and they're just such classic stories that I think will never go out of fashion for kids, because I think they're just so fun. And yeah, it's definitely a really good collection. As I mentioned with the Tales from Acorn Woods books, Julia Donaldson is an absolute favourite author of ours. So as the kids kind of grew out of those hardback books. We then moved on to the paper ones that she does, and there are some absolutely amazing stories in here. I actually asked the kids to go and pick me their favourite one each, and they just brought me the whole pile of the whole lot of books that we have of these. There's so many to choose from, so if children already have started their collection, you can just build on it like we have done here. One of our absolute favourites this time of year is Stickman, and a cartoon of this is actually going to be on Christmas Day. I had a look in the Radio Times when I was in the shop earlier. Like the Gruffalo, like I said earlier, and there's also activities you can do around the Gruffalo, so many things, and the Gruffalo's Child. There's just so many books that she has done that are just fabulous stories, and I think our absolute favourite has got to be Room on the Broom. You can see that's all battered. We have read this probably 200 times with my children. We love it so much, so I definitely recommend Julia Donaldson for another classic gift. Another firm classic and an author that we absolutely love, but if you try to read this quite fast it is very tongue-tying, is Dr. Seuss. And we have a good collection of Dr. Seuss books because Santa always leaves one in Henry's stocking every single year, so that's very nice of Santa to put that in there. But it's become a little bit of a tradition for Henry to see which Dr. Seuss book he is going to get. So he so far has The Grinch, All the Places You'll Go. This is also a really good gift for someone with like a newborn baby. You can give to them to keep. Green Eggs and Ham, The Cat in the Hat, and One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. I think there's like 3 more he's got left to collect, and so hopefully Santa continues his tradition of bringing these in his stocking. But obviously The Grinch is a firm favourite. If your kids don't have this book already, they'll be seeing the Grinch stuff everywhere. It's a really good one for them to have at this time of year, but all of the others don't disappoint as well. They're all really funny, and my kids just absolutely adore these books. So as I mentioned, my kids are quite big bookworms, but Penelope in particular loves books so much. She can get quite obsessed with reading. She is the most advanced reader in her school, which is really nice to get told that off the teachers. But Henry isn't, and he can read really well. He just doesn't always like to sit and read a book. But one book that has got him really into reading more, and he will sit and read over and over again, you've probably heard him talk about it on my channel, is Dogman. So he has been collecting all the Dogman books. He only has 3 more to collect. I think there's 14 in total, so he's hoping that Santa brings them down the chimney on Christmas Day. So this is one of the most recent ones that he's got. This is Dogman Big Jim Begins. He was going to bring me all of them down, but I said no, 1 is just enough. But there are 14, like I said, to collect, and they're a really good way to get kids, if they're not too keen on reading a big book, it's like a bigger book but with not that many words on each page, so it just encourages them to get more involved in a book that's a bit longer, because it is more like a comic strip, and Henry just sits there for hours and hours and loves it. And plus there's like the Dogman movie coming out, there's Dogman merchandise, so it really gets them into it. Another absolutely incredible author for children, which is quite surprising when you watch Little Britain back in the day, is David Walliams. Never would I have thought he would be a children's author. Still shocks me to this day. But Penelope is obsessed with his books. She buys them all the time. So she's got a few here. She says that her favourites are these 2, Super Sleuth and Astro Chimp, but she did say she loves them all. So I think sometimes it depends what mood she's in. But these are some of the newer ones because we've been collecting them since they became hardbacks. That's when we've got them, when they've been brand new. And Penelope's hoping that she gets the new one off Santa this year for Christmas. She tends to get a book off Santa every year in her stocking, so she's hoping for the latest David Walliams books. But she said that the stories are really funny. She says they're incredible, and she said they're very similar to like Roald Dahl style, but silly, funny, and they keep her engaged in reading. And you can tell that he's a really good author because he's a multi-million best-selling author. Like, that's insane. How did David Walliams become such a big kids author? Who knew that that would not have been on my bingo card back when Little Britain was on, I tell you that. Another book series that Penelope has been completely besotted with for the last couple of years is Lottie Brooks. These books she says, are super funny. But if you have got a child that is not that into reading thicker books, because it can be a bit daunting when you see how big it is, this one is written out more like a diary. So again, like the comic strips for Dogman, this might get them more into reading because it's less like a book and more like a diary, and it's a bit more fun to read. Penelope says that the stories are hilarious, and they do cover some topics like bullying and a few little older things, you know, as they transition from being a little girl going into secondary school, them sort of topics as well. So it is a really good one to touch on those things, and Penelope loves it so much. She highly recommends this series. And just a couple of other ones. These weren't necessarily books that my kids recommended as like their favourite books, but they said they were really nice Christmas presents that they'd received in the past. So A Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher. Tom Fletcher has quite a few books out now. Penelope's read a few of them, but she got this for Christmas one year and she said she liked it, that it was a Christmas themed book for Christmas. So that's just another idea. And then J.K. Rowling, obviously Harry Potter is another book series which we love, obsessed with Harry Potter, but I feel like so many people know about Harry Potter, I didn't even need to recommend Harry Potter. Obviously we recommend Harry Potter over here, we're big Harry Potter fans. Penelope has a Harry Potter Lego advent calendar. We've been to Harry Potter, we just love Harry Potter, so we definitely recommend Harry Potter. How many times did I say Harry Potter in that sentence then? But if you want to move away from that series and want a Christmas story that J.K. Rowling has done, she has done The Christmas Pig. Now I have no idea what this is about, but Penelope said it was really funny and she really enjoyed it, and obviously evidenced from the Harry Potter series how well the writing was in that and the success from it. I'm guessing it's going to be a good book. So if you're just looking for a Christmassy themed book to give someone, that is also a good option. So that is now all the children's books done with. There are so many, we could just keep going and going, but those are some of the top picks for like different age ranges, from babies up to like 10, 11 years old, that we recommend, and that comes from my children's mouths. I am now going to move on to self-help books. Now some of these I don't actually have the book here because I have listened to it on Audible, but I will go through which ones I recommend, which I personally listen to and really love. So for self-help books, I'm just going to recommend 3 really great books that I feel have had an overall impact on my life. One of them is The Secret. This has been around a really long time, and I feel like it's a really nice gift to give. I've given it to a number of people over the years since I read it. It didn't fully change my life, but it did make me have a different outlook on things, and I am by no way a manifesting expert, but I like to listen to audiobooks on manifesting, and I really find them informative and just have a different outlook on the way that you think about things. I've recently listened to Manifest by Roxy Nafousi, and I thought that was a really good book as well. It didn't have as much of an impact as The Secret, but I felt like the way in which she told the story and the way in which she wrote it really helped me just release a lot of stuff. So that is another one that I recommend. One book that I felt really changed my life was The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving an F, and I thought this book really changed the way I handled my anxiety. I was able to really overhaul my life once I read this book, and it just spoke to me in a different way that nothing else ever did, even therapy. It just completely changed who I was as a person, so I always recommend it. It's been a number of years since I've read it now, but the underlying theory I still carry with me day to day, and I think that it's a really good, helpful book for a lot of people. And like I said, since I read that, it changed me so much with my anxiety. So definitely one to think about if you're looking for a good self-help book on anxiety, or if you know someone that might be struggling, it could be one for them. And finally, the most recent book that I've read, I've spoke about this already on Vlogmas because I bought it for a gift for someone, is The Let Them Fear It by Mel Robbins. I think Mel Robbins is absolutely incredible. I love listening to her on TikTok, a lot of her theories on there. She works with a lot of psychologists and doctors, and the book just really speaks to me in a high level. I absolutely loved the message that it gives. Just let them. It's a great theory, and listening to it, just the way in which she tells the story and the way that she comes to it, it speaks for so many circumstances. because not everybody's circumstance is the same, or you might come across similar circumstances to other people at different times in your life. Sometimes you're at one stage and someone is at another stage, but this can speak to everyone at any stage, and that's what I really love about this book. So this book that I have, it doesn't fall into the way of like self-help, but it is kind of that sort of way inclined. It's Evergreen by Lydia Millen. If you've not seen Lydia Millen, I've followed her for about 12 years on YouTube, and she just lives this really nice country life. She's always quite positive, no negative vibes around, and this book is all about how to live with each season and how to embrace each season and think of them positively. Now, I was bought this book as a gift and I was really struggling to read it, so I had a free credit on Audible, so I downloaded it and listened to it, and honestly, listening to Lydia's soft, subtle tones is so relaxing and nice to get you in a good headspace in the morning. So I would listen to it in my car, my drive to work, and it was just a really nice way to just think about how you take in each season. Like when it's winter, especially like after Christmas is done, I can feel really negative about how the winter is, because it's just cold and dreary and dismal, and there is literally nothing to do in January. You're usually quite skint after Christmas, but after reading this, it really helped me embrace like the positives within the winter months and how to use that to your own vantage in your life. So although it's not a self-help book, it could probably be used as one, because it did help me in terms of how I saw the seasons and how I live my life throughout the seasons to avoid getting like seasonal affective depression. So it is a really good one, and it looks so pretty as well. It's such a nice gift. So even though I've actually not read the actual book, so it's like brand new, I have listened to it, and I just keep this really nice as like a coffee table book or a display book, and I just think it's really, really pretty. So now we have spoke about self-help books, let's get into my absolute favorite, which is fiction. And I have read so many books this year, so many books that I could recommend. Some of them I've read in previous years, but let's start off. A couple of these are series books, so you obviously have to buy like multiple ones. You may want to start someone off with the first one and see how they get to it, but let me begin and let me share. So my goal for 2025 was to not buy any more books until I read all the books on my bookshelf. I failed massively in the first month. So I've already spoke about this book previously on my channel earlier in the year in one of my vlogs, but I had this book, I'd had it for over a year, it'd been sitting there, the cover just wasn't giving me a good vibe in terms of like, it looked a bit boring to be honest, and the things we never got over, it sounded really sad, so I put off reading it. But when I was giving myself that goal, it was top of the pile, so I picked it up, and I fell in love with this book. Like 2 pages in, I was hooked. I loved it so much. I read it in like 2 days. I completely fell in love with Naomi as the main character, and Knox, I think it was. Yep, Knox was the guy. I've not read it since January, but I loved it so much. I just wanted to go back and read it again, but I need to get through so many books that I just do not have time. But I absolutely fell in love with these characters, the story, and I've recommended it to a few different people. I've had some mixed reports of like 1 or 2 people I've not loved it as much, but other people have said, oh my god, it's amazing. So yes, I fell in love with this one, but this one is a series, so I had to buy the other 2, so I had to break my promise, didn't I? New Year's resolution broke right there. So I then went out and bought the other 2. All the characters intertwine throughout all the stories, but the main story is about 2 different people in each one, but the characters are in all of them. So it's the blue one first, then the pink one, and then the purple one. But I absolutely love these series. Blue one is my favourite, then the purple one, and then the pink one. It just was a little bit slower paced, but again, I absolutely love this series. Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score. It was a fave. So going from romance now to more of like a murder mystery, I picked up the Thursday Murder Club by Richard, is it Osman or Olsman? And this book was so good. What I loved about this one was really short chapters. I find that if it's a short chapter, I'm more inclined to pick it up a little bit more often, because I'll think, I'll just get to the next chapter, I'll get to the next chapter, and then I get through it really, really quick. But it was a good page turner, the characters were really funny, and you may have also seen that it has been picked up as a movie on Netflix. That is one of the reasons why I bought it, because I'd seen the books in the shop loads, and I'm like, I don't know. But the fact that it had been picked up as a movie, and it had some amazing actors in there, like Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan in there, some great casting to play the characters. They did get it spot on, I think, with some of the casting on there. But absolutely loved that, and I need to get the rest of the series. I've not read any more other than this first one. again, I've just not had time to get through all my other books, so definitely recommend this series. It's a good start of the Thursday Murder Club. Going from thriller now to romantasy, and we're talking xxxx, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. Now, if you have been in the book talk world, you will have seen this about. It is like a fantasy book, so there is like make-believe characters in there, there's humans in there, there's romance, there's drama, there's scary stuff going on. It gives me, to describe it quite easily, it gives me Beauty and the Beast times Game of Thrones vibes. But this book, although it was good, it was not my favourite in the series, and it was quite slow, and I did think, why is this series so popular? Because off this first book, it's not giving me like, wow, that's incredible, until we got to the second book and then the third book. I was obsessed. So yes, the first one was a bit of a slow burn, and this is one of the shorter ones. It's introducing you to all the characters, and I did find it quite difficult to visualise some of the fantasy characters, so I had to go on TikTok and say, what does the Suriel look like, or what does Tamlin look like? And it I did kind of get it in a way, but I just find that really difficult to envision. It's just not my style, it's just not the way that I am. I find that sort of hard to do. Some other people might find it really easy. But once I got to the second book and I knew what I was visualising with the characters, and it was less descriptive with some of the more fantasy creatures in this one as well. It was just more, kind of just treated like they were all normal creatures as such in the second one a bit more. So it felt a little bit easier to read. But oh my God, after like chapter 5 on this book, I was like, boom, we're in there. I need to just get through this book all the time. And the third one, but look how thick they get. There's also a fourth and a fifth one. The fourth one's more like a novella, which is a bit of a filler book. And then the fifth one is a really thick book. And it's probably like 2 stories in one. There's a lot of build up in there. And it took me a really long time to read that, but the story was fantastic still. It just took me quite a bit to read it, and there is a 6th one coming. But if you're going to buy this for someone as a gift, I would recommend getting book 1 and 2 and tell them to keep going with it if they're finding it a bit slow paced, because I've seen that a lot online, that a lot of people found this one quite slow, and it wasn't until they got to the second one that they fell in love with the series. And once you fall in love with the series, you are now in the cult of xxxx, and you cannot leave, and you will become obsessed. An author that, if you are in the book world and love books, you've probably heard of is Colleen Hoover. Now, there's sometimes a little bit of a controversy around Colleen Hoover. I really love her books. I find them really easy to read. Is she the best author? No. Like, in terms of writing, no, but the stories are really good. Sometimes there's a bit of a twist, and what I do like is she tends to do them either from a his and hers perspective, or now and in the past sort of perspective, so you're switching the story up, so the chapters kind of go back and forth a little bit in a lot of the stories, which I do find really interesting. And she does it in different ways, like sometimes she might read a diary from the past. I think that's how this one does it. It might be that you're reading letters from the past or something like that, I don't know, but they're all different versions of how she swings through different perspectives, but keeps the story flowing. This was the first one that I read. It is got DV references in there, so just a bit of a trigger warning with that one, but I really love this story. It has been made into a movie, and obviously there's been a lot of controversy around the movie, but I think that's more just with the actors that are in there. But the story itself is really good. I think it highlights some really good points. It really did get me into the Colleen Hoover world. One of my favourite books of hers is Verity, which I don't have at the moment because I lent out to my friend. I've lent so many books out, I need to give out library cards so I know who has what. I really want to reread Verity for the movie coming out, but the movie has Anne Hathaway in it, and Dakota Johnson and Josh Hartnett. 3 really great actors that are going to be in there, especially Anne Hathaway. She is such a favourite of mine, so I cannot wait to watch that next year. So I definitely recommend looking at Colleen Hoover books, but some of them are sequels, so you need to make sure you check which ones go with what. If you go on her website, she will tell you on there, and I'm sure that it has the any trigger warnings on there as well. Going back into more of like a romance, a genre, a book that got me absolutely hooked was The Flat Share. Now, I don't often read the blurb on books. I've told you this before. It's just not something that I do, and I've fell short sometimes by doing this. But I did read the blurb on this and I was kind of a bit like, that sounds a bit naff actually. But I took it out from the library already and I thought, do you know what, I'm gonna read it, and I loved it. I thought it was a really great story. It was just a nice story, and it's been turned into a TV series, which I really enjoyed. The TV series was quite different. They changed quite a bit in there, but I think it works really well for the TV series, and then the book works really well on its own. So I definitely recommend this. This is by Beth O'Leary, and another really good one that I read from her was The Switch. I read that this year, and I thought, again, it was kind of slow paced and it was just a nice book, but I thought it was a really lovely story, and I definitely recommend some of Beth O'Leary's books if that's something that you want to get into. Another good romance author is Tessa Bailey. Now this is the book that I got burned with because I didn't realise that this was the second in a series, so I didn't read the first one first. Now you can get away with it, you can read this and not have read the first one, but obviously it gives away the ending of the first one. The first one is called What Happened One Summer, and I definitely recommend that as well. I've lent that to someone and I don't know who, so I've not got it back yet, but that one I highly recommend. I think it's a great story. It's about an heiress who has basically been told she has to go and fix up and live in her dad's old bar in the middle of like a fishing village in the middle of nowhere. And the author said that she based it off of Alexis from Schitt's Creek, so kind of like how they were rich and then went to nothing, and she had to sort of learn how to stand on her own 2 feet, and obviously what happens within that. And then this one is from the perspective of her sister, so it carries on from that story but from her sister. So obviously the main character in the first book is in this one, so you kind of know the outcome of what happened over there. I really like the Tessa Bailey books. They're quite easy to read, got a little bit of adult content in there, and they're just nice kind of like romance stories, easy reads, beach reads, chilled out day reads, and sort of stuff that I love to just sit myself down with a cup of coffee and enjoy. So a book series that you might have seen about is this one by Laurie Gilmore. So I originally saw the Pumpkin Spice Cafe doing its rounds on TikTok. It was advertising to all us pumpkin spice girlies, and it was a really cute love story. It was a bit slow paced, but it was a nice story and I really enjoyed it. And then the next one that I saw from her was The Christmas Tree Farm, and obviously it was named after a Taylor Swift song, so we're buying it. It's Christmas themed and the cover is so cute, and it matched my pumpkin spice one. But you can read this on its own. If you were thinking I wanted a really good Christmassy festive book to read, you could read this on its own. It does have some of the characters in from the previous one, but you don't need to know the stories to get on with this, but it will ruin the ending of those ones, because obviously you know what's going to happen with the characters because they're already in this story. And again, I missed a book in the series before I read it, so there was actually this second one called The Cinnamon Bookstore, and I have not read that yet. That is the second one in the series, and I've also gone on to buy numbers 4 and 5 as well, because we all know once I like a series, I'm getting the full collection because I'm obsessed. I have been currently reading my Tessa Bailey book for quite a while because I have no time to read it at all. And then my next favourite author that I'm going to talk to you about, I've just been obsessed with her books, so I have been reading them religiously and just going through all of them whenever I have had time to read. So I keep thinking I'll get round to the Cinnamon Bun Bakery, and I will eventually, but I just think these make a really lovely gift. They're really beautiful books. I think they look really nice on display. And if you wanted to just get someone The Christmas Tree Farm, like I said, for a nice Christmassy read, it is a really good story. I enjoyed that one. I think that one was better than the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and I've seen a few people online saying the same thing, but I'm excited to read the other ones. I think they're really cute. So nice little love story there. Can't beat a good love story at Christmas time. It's like, they're like Hallmark movies. That's how I could describe these books. Like Hallmark movies in a book. So my final author I'm going to recommend has probably been my favourite author of 2025. I have read so many of her books this year, and I have bought so many more to read. I think I have a stack of 7 of her books ready to read, and that is Frida McFadden. I've already talked about her on this channel before, you've probably all heard of The Housemaid. This is probably her biggest bestseller. It has just been made into a movie which will be released over the Christmas period. I think it comes out on Boxing Day, but I'm hoping that these previews leading up to Christmas as well, because I'm so excited to watch this. It looks amazing and it was such a good book. One of the things I really love about the Freedom McFadden books is that there's always some kind of twist, and then sometimes the twist is that there's not a twist, and I'm always just like waiting for the twist in the book, so I love them so much. So yeah, The Housemaid, and then I've also read The Housemaid's Secret, and I also got burned with these books because I read this one first, so I didn't know there was this one. But again, I read that not realising it was in a sequel until I saw this, and I was like, oh. So I kind of knew what the outcome was gonna be with this, but not fully. So definitely recommend reading this one first, then this one. There is also a third one that is on my to be read list, which I can't wait to get to. And I hear that there is like a novella in between this one and the next one, so I need to really look into that and see if I can get that before I read the next one along. A couple of ones that I have read recently are The Inmate, The Tenant, and Never Lie, which I have loaned to my mum, and those were really good stories. What I am quite terrible at is trying to guess what is going to come next, and I like to write down at the beginning what I think it's going to be and whether I'm right or not, and I would make a good detective because I'm pretty good at guessing. But other people say, no, I didn't see that coming a mile off, and I'm like, I did. I just I'm getting so good at doing this now, but I love to do it. It's so fun. So as much as I don't like to read blurbs myself, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. So the Inmate is about a woman who gets a job at a prison facility as a nurse, and there is a person who is in there that is the father of her child, who was put in there for attempting to kill her and killing some of their friends when they were younger. And it's all about their story and what happens next, and whether is he innocent, is he guilty, did he actually do it, did somebody else actually do it. So all the way through you don't know whether it's another person or him. So yeah, that was a really good read on that one. And then The Tenant is about a couple who, the guy has recently lost his job. He was really successful, and he's lost his job, and they've had to take in a roommate, a tenant, into their apartment. And then he keeps finding that she's doing weird things, like putting rotting food in the kitchen, they're getting flies, etc. And his girlfriend starts to think he's going all weird. So you're like thinking, is he going mad, or is she actually doing all these things? And then you come to the conclusion at the end of what is actually happening. But it's such a good book. I really love the Freedom McFadden ones. Once I start one of these, I cannot put it down, so I know I need like 2-3 evenings so that I can just blast it out straight away, because I will not want to put it down. So all those books I have read this year, and I would recommend all of them. It obviously depends on you or whoever you are buying for, what kind of books they like. Are they a thriller person? Are they a romance person? Do they like a little bit of adult content in there? Obviously you need to see who you are purchasing for, but there are some of the ones that I've loved the most. My most favourite of the year have got to be pretty much any of the Freedom McFadden ones that I've read so far. I have not come across a bad one yet. I have been told that some of them aren't as good, but I've not got round to those ones, and I'll let you know what I think of them when I get to them. But yeah, the Freedom McFadden ones and the Lucy Score ones have been my favourites of the year, and I did spend a majority of my year reading the ACOTAR series because it was a long series, and it did put my reading back a little bit delayed because there were so many of them to get through. There have been a number of other books that I've read as well in between, but either I don't have them anymore or I can't remember what they were because there have been that many. But these are ones that I have kept and I love, and I would probably recommend and read again and again and again if I had the time, because the list of books that I have got stacked up upstairs to read is probably more than what I've just shared with you today. So really my 2026 goal is to read the books that I have on my shelf without buying any more new ones. Can we do it this year? Because I have probably bought about 20 to 25 new books this year, and that was not my goal. That was I always say buying books and reading books are two completely very different hobbies, and I live by that. So if I never get round to some of these, I'll be absolutely gutted actually, because I really want to get around to them. But I think a book is just such a lovely gift. I think you can start by giving them from really young and getting kids into books. Some of these books have gone on from generation to generation, and I think some of the ones that are coming out new today will live on from our kids' kids as well, that they will pass on. So I think it's really nice to get in there early with some of them for a gift, or just giving another adult a book that's recommended is really thoughtful as well. Hope you've really enjoyed this video. It's given you a little bit of inspiration for some gifts, or maybe even for yourself. And if you are looking at getting into reading in 2026, let me know what you're going to start with. If you are new to reading, let me know. If you are new to the reading game or you're getting back into it, I would definitely recommend Colleen Hoover as a start, because there's such easy reads, really easy to get into, and I think it would really open up the reading book for you. Or if not, have a scroll on over to BookTok, because there are so many great authors and books that get recommended over there. I honestly have a list how many books long that I have in my notes on my phone. When I see someone recommend a book, I will write it down, and eventually I will get to it. And I'm going to do some more book reviews in 2026, because I feel like I read these books and then I don't share with you what I think, and some of them I think are fantastic and you will love them all. So thank you again for watching my video today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. More Vlogmas videos on the way, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!